All right, we are in good shape. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I don't know when the cutoff is in January. We stop saying Happy New Year, but I'm going to say it anyway. Happy New Year, continued success and health. And I am absolutely thrilled to be a part of this. And Ford, thank you for the kind words as always. I know Ford for many years. I know Ken Scher is also here. I know him for a long time. In fact, as some of you I've known for for quite a while. But I appreciate the kind words and the opportunity to share some of what I do with Beacon and within this particular subgroup, and specifically around networking, referral marketing, and in this case, virtual networking, which is pretty much all I focus on as a speaker, trainer, coach, the whole thing. So this is me. And I am a boxer. I truly am. My company is Knockout Networking, and those are some of my clients up there. I'm niched within that top band. I'm niched within the insurance and financial services industry. I've been at this for 20 plus years, where I've been focused on helping financial advisors, brokers, insurance producers, agents, planners grow their business through networking and referral marketing. So it's usually these large companies that bring me in, and I work with their producers. That's my whole thing. Got a book, the whole deal, right? So these are, I guess, what I call hats in the ring. And these are my three hats that I throw in the ring. And we all have our series of hats that we use in terms of what brands us and represents who we are. So the three that I'll talk about very quickly, just to create some context here, is Knockout Networking is my speaking, training, coaching firm, founded over 20 years ago. So there's that aspect of what I do. You'll see in the bottom, the networking group. So in 2014, I founded a networking group called, obviously enough, the Networking Group. Hit them with the obvious when it comes with the brand. And that is now a national organization where we now have communities. Let me see if I can rattle them off the top of my head. New York City, Philadelphia, New Jersey, Long Island, Atlanta, Chicago, South Florida, and Boston, where we have these communities. We even have a meeting tonight. And that is exploding right now. And that was just started with just get a couple of people together that are like-minded, and it grew into something incredible. And that was in 2014. And now, of course, it's all virtual right now. So all kinds of great things happening. And the reason I even bring that up is because this is something you can do as a job search strategy. You can create a networking group for free on Zoom, and it can be niche to your target market where you don't compete or potentially compete with one another. Something you can do on the free, on the cheap. All you got to do is just make it happen on Zoom, and you can just right away, a strategy, right, that you can use. And imagine what would happen if you did this, let's say every Friday from 3 to 4, and you came up with a structure that works for everybody, something I could certainly help you with, and you could create your own networking meeting. It doesn't have to be a national franchise. It can be whatever you want it to be. The point is that it's going to help you do what you need to do, and that's make more connections, land a job or a client or what have you. And the third hat that I'm going to throw in the ring is that's a Rutgers logo for those of you that might be alum or might be familiar or a fan of Big Ten. So I'm a professor at Rutgers University on Monday nights, although we're in a break right now. And I've been at that gig. I'm going into my 18th year. What do you think about that? And I teach a public speaking class. So I think it's important to put logos and representation when we're speaking to people and we're networking, because what that does is it showcases different aspects of our lives that people don't know. And a big part of connecting with people is understanding what their interests are, where they're coming from, a little bit about their background. But just by these three logos, I've been able to tell three stories right now. I haven't even gotten started yet, where you get at least a snapshot of who I am and maybe questions that you would ask me. Maybe you're an alum for Rutgers or you're interested in networking or whatever it is, right? So, but it opens up all this dialogue. And to make it really about networking, it will be a collaborative dialogue. So it's not just about me and my logos, but it's about you and your association. So here's the first takeaway is think of associations that you have that maybe you don't showcase on LinkedIn or where you're collaborating with people. And it could be, where you went to school. It could be an association that you're part of, a fundraising initiative that you're passionate about, whatever it is. But, it tells a story and it creates common ground with those that might have similar stories, and similar passions around some of the things that you might share and talk about. So right there, takeaway. How to get the most value out of today. And this is going to be, I'm going to just I'm going to, create some space for questions that you would post in the chat box, because I think fast, talk fast, the whole thing. It's 12:15 right now. We're going to go steady until about 1:15, and then we're going to create some space and really focus on the Q&A thing. So jot them down. If you've got questions, jot them down. So have your favorite beverage handy. I've got mine right here. So you can hydrate, minimize or eliminate distractions. I see you. I see you. You're multitasking. Don't multitask. Stay here, because in an hour and 15 gonzo. So try to minimize the multitasking and the distractions. Take notes, please, please, please. Take copious notes, and take notes about not just content that you might find attractive, but applications, like what you're going to do about it. That's a big deal, as what you're going to do about it. Be open to learning, changing, implementing. Ask questions, tons of them, right? If you ask the right question, you get the right answer. Post comments in the chat box, and again, go ahead and just thinking that you're going to do at least one more thing, more, better, different, that maybe you're not doing. Really think about improvement. Even if it's just one idea is better than no ideas. That it's the new year now. So with energy, you're going to take this one idea, whether it's from me or somebody else in the meeting, that you're going to do more, better, or differently with. All right, here we go. And this is going to be with love. I apologize in advance with love. I'm a boxer. I hit hard. Here it goes. Why job seekers struggle. I've been volunteering, helping job seekers and those in between careers for the better part of 24, 25 years. And it's almost always been as a volunteer, just because I have a passion for helping those that are in between careers. It's just a labor of love. It's just something that I do. I love doing it. It's just fulfilling, and I think there's a lot of value there. In my experience, this is what I've learned. Why job seekers struggle or don't get the results that they might be looking for, or enough of the results that they might be looking for, is there's not enough focus on what is wanted. Like, what is it that you want as a job seeker? Like, what specifically do you want? Like, be specific. It's not just, I want to land a job, like, duh, winning, right? But what type of job, what industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic, demographic, geography do you want to work for and in and within? Focus. Not enough openness to direction or feedback. Like, there's no shortage of information and no shortage of people that would give us direct feedback and insight and coaching. You've got some brilliant career search coaches here in the meeting with Ford and Ken and some others. So you got to be open to direct feedback and change. It's not always comfortable. In fact, being in between careers is not comfortable. I get it. But if you keep doing what you've been doing and it's not working, and you continue doing that, right, you're going to get very little traction. Not enough networking in the right places. Networking is about going to the right place, saying the right thing, meeting the right people. We're going to get into all that. Not enough knowledge about, that's not Long Island, it's LinkedIn and the usage around LinkedIn. I don't mean that nobody here knows how to use LinkedIn. I'm sure everybody is on LinkedIn. There's only 180 million people on LinkedIn right now, more than ever because of what's going on. But it's really, are you using it in sync with what it is that you're looking for in terms of industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic, demographic, geography? I'm not a LinkedIn expert, but I am going to get into some aspects of maybe some best practices on how to get more better from LinkedIn. Not enough emphasis on giving and helping. It's all about the give and help. If you give and help the right people, they tend to give back and help, right? That's collaboration. It's got to be about that. Not enough of a plan or daily routine. I'm going to get into that too, right? It's about a daily routine every single day, chipping away. Not enough accountability in place. When you're not working for someone or an organization, there's not a lot of accountability there. There's often not a lot of structure, which means that it's on us to create that structure. If I had a superpower that I would talk about, it would be that I'm extremely structured. And you'll see, by the way, I put some ideas together, is I'm just very step-by-step, pragmatic and systemic, because that's just the way things get done. It's really hard to be that way when you're in job search. It's really hard to be that way when you're a business owner. But I find the most successful business owners and leaders tend to be truly accountable to themselves and accountable to a structure. I'm going to be giving you lots of measures and structures today, but it's up to you as to whether you're going to embrace and do any of them. And finally, not enough hard work towards the objective. So it does take work to get work. I know Ford says this all the time. It does require a lot of work to get work. An oxymoron, I know, on some level, but that's just what it. So the bottom line is, why do job seekers struggle? Not enough. There's just not enough of something. There's not enough intention around doing the right things. And again, I'm hoping to throw some. What the heck is this? I've never shared this graphic before, but I'm going to. The reason I never shared it is because it just happened. I mentioned that I'm an adjunct professor at Rutgers. This is one of my students break down a rubric of sorts of her grade. She earned a D in a public speaking class. Psst, just between us girls here, if you earn a D in a public speaking class, you've got to question yourself. You really have to question yourself. And this is a great student that should have earned an A. So stay with the numbers with me for a second. I'm driving at a point. So you'll notice in the left-hand side, that's the percentage breakdown of, it's a public speaking class, of what a student would earn in presentation. So presentations make up 60% of the grade. Exams make up 20% of the grade. You can see assignments, resume, attendance, and participation, and so on. So those percentiles equate to 100%. So you do all of those things, and you got a pretty good chance of earning 100%. So this particular student, presentation, she got 31.6% out of 60. That's because she earned a B on a presentation, and she's a good speaker. She earned a C on a presentation. Why? Because she didn't submit an outline. And then she earned an F and an F on 2 presentations. Why? Because she didn't show up. She literally, for a scheduled, she didn't show up, right? So F, right? So exam, she did really well. She earned 100 on the midterm and a 95 on the final. Her assignment, she did pretty good there, right? So pretty well. So 6 out of 7. Her resume, just submit a resume. It looks like this. I give a template at the beginning of the year. You've got 13 weeks to work on it, but it's got to be perfect. And we go back and forth. She just simply didn't submit it. She gets 0. She should 3% of her grade, threw it away. And her attendance participation was pretty good. So if you do the math, that turns into 65.1%. That's a D. Let me ask you, bottom line, given what I've just shared with you, and I want you to post this in the chat box, why did the student earn a D rather than a potential A? Was it because she's not smart? What was the reason? And please post. Anybody? Zoe, help, because I just can't see my chat.
So some people writing, she didn't show up enough, she didn't put in the work, she didn't show up for 2 of the 3 presentations, didn't have focus and accountability, failed to show up. Yeah, so a lot of that comments.
Yeah, so good. I can't see the chat, so I might need, for whatever reason, it's just not coming up. All right, so the point is, she just didn't do the work. She didn't show up and do the work, right? So the point is that she had all the tools to earn A's in the class. 13 students did. She did not. In fact, she pushed back a day later through an email and said that she was horrified that she earned a D when she did so well on the exams, and her parents are pissed at her. You know what? I've got an 18-year-old daughter too. If my daughter was going to school and I was paying the freight, I'd be pissed too. I wanted to say that, but I didn't. It's like, well, you didn't show up and do the work. So bottom line, it's a long-winded way of saying you got to show up and do the work. That's what it is. Like, you've got all the tools in the world that are there, and I'm going to provide some as best as I can. It's up to you what you want to earn. Do you want to earn the A or B, right? So you've got to do the work, bottom line. I can give you all the information in the world, and so can any other speaker, right, or a coach. But it's just a question of, are you going to show up and do it? So here we go. 3 knockout approaches for you and your job search. And this is outside of job search strategy. I'm going to create some perspective. Take notes. My slides are busy. I talk fast, so capture what you can. So first approach is manage your money. Right? I don't know what your financial situation is. None of my business. But you should know what your financial situation is. 3 questions that you might want to ask yourself is, what is the worst thing that can happen given your current situation? Right? If nothing changes right now in the next month, couple of months, what's the worst case scenario? I know it's daunting to think about, but think about that. What is the best thing? Second thing, what is the best thing that can happen? So best case scenario. And third is, what's the most likely thing to happen given where you're at right now? So whatever that scenario is, I'm not here to judge. The point is come up with a plan. So if worst case scenario in a month from now, what is my plan going to be to change things? Come up with that plan. Like, what are you going to do? Discuss it with your husband, wife, partner, whatever it is. What's that plan? What best case scenario? Let's say you land the job, you get the client, whatever it is. So what's your plan in terms of managing that, in terms of your money? And then the third is, what's the most likely scenario? What's your plan? So it's about having a plan. I think it's really good, especially in the beginning of the year, to be conscious of where your financial well-being is. So you know what to do, so you're proactive about this. Second component, manage your connections, and that's where I'm going. Social media followers, job search leads, prospects, COI is centers of influence, and creating those lists. And third is be massively, obscenely in service to others, where it's about giving and being a resource. And that's all about having a networking mindset and behavior. So this is the setup for where I'm going. So fear's kryptonite is a plan. That's me. Well, I wish that was me, right? But it's pretty close, right? So the best cure for fear is a plan. Fear's kryptonite. So coming up with that plan, all of a sudden, it takes away the fear because at least you've got an action step and you can address what's going on, the good, the bad, or the ugly. All right. Questions on any of that stuff before we get into content? All right, here we go. And I know some people are not on mute, so if you would just mute. All right, so knockout job search. Here are 3 mindsets that I think are required. 3, skill sets rather. One is a mindset, skill set, will set. So 3 sets. Mindset is your attitude. It's your predisposition towards a person or a place or a thing. That's your mindset. It's your attitude. And mindset's everything. Without having a certain mindset, you may not have the right skill set, which is what you do about it. So mindset is your attitude. So if you've got a humorous mindset, your skill set is you're going to do funny things. And then your will set is what you do on a regular basis. So it's ongoing humor. So in terms of job search, it might be what's your mindset, in terms of moving forward. I would suggest it should be a giving, helping, learning mindset. Right. And then your skill set's going to reflect that. Like, what are you going to do about it? And your will set is putting a system in place to make sure that these things happen on a regular basis. So here's a networking mindset. Lots of bullet points, right? So it's being concerned about people's health and safety, especially now. Not everybody is healthy and safety. Just before this meeting, I just found out that one of my daughter's friends is positive for COVID, right? And on and on and on. Not a new story anymore. Not everybody is healthy and safe, right? So check in with people as you're speaking to them. Make sure that they are okay and that you're thinking about them. Be interested in learning. Be interested in offering help. Be very inquisitive. Ask questions. Listen to the answers. Be interested and interesting, provide resources for people. Like if there's information about websites and books and portals and podcasts and whatever's helpful, offer that to people. And then finally, make introductions, be a connector. Basically, be a giver. That's networking mindset. Is for networking to take, you have to give. Write that down. I like that. For networking to take, you have to give. That's a networking mindset. Kind of like in the ring, right? When I'm boxing, it's always better to give than to receive, right? Almost the same thing in networking. All right, here we go. 6 reasons. I see. That's the mindset going forward. There's only 6 reasons why we network, in my opinion. Only 6. First, and it's in no particular order. I put it in an order for this, right? So to land a job, 76% of job searchers, according to Lee Hecht Harrison, are landing interviews and ultimately a job through networking. Right, so land a job is the first reason for networking. That's probably obvious, but I think the not so obvious part is it's not just about landing a job. It's having and I'm going to get into all this. It's having an understanding of what type of job do you want to land, what industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic, demographic, geography. Target companies. It's about being purposeful and specific about the type of job. So from a networking standpoint, if you are clear on that, you'll know where to go, what to say, with whom. That's networking. That's the 1, 2, 3 punch of networking, the where to go, what to say, with whom. So if you know what type of job you're looking to land, and I'm going to get into some target marketing stuff in a little bit, so we'll put some color around that. Then you can think about online or off, where to go, what to say, and with whom. Got it? Generate business is the second reason why we network. What type of business? Again, industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic, demographic, geography, target companies. So I know, because I'm a business owner and have been for the better part, a long time, is I know that if I talk to people about that, I want BlackRock, for example, as a client. I'm big into focusing on mutual fund companies. They seem to like what I do. Just putting BlackRock out there is gonna get introductions into those circles. Why? Because I put that in the universe. But if I focus on sharing that with the right people in the right manner, with the right timing, Those things happen. I led a networking meeting this morning, my own networking meeting. And when it came to me, that's what I said. I added some color around that. I won't bore you, but around BlackRock. So because of that, I had people working on introductions into that company. So when that happens and I land that company as a client, is it a coincidence? Like, wow, how'd that happen? No, I made it happen, right? Just by being focused. And that's a networking mindset. Where to go, what to say with whom, but doing it in the right way and knowing that I'm collaborating, that I'm exchanging the favor. Social reasons. Third reason. Ever hear of Facebook? I understand it's this trendy new app, right? So that's social reasons, right? So to make friends. I just moved in a different area. I want to make friends. I'm a golfer. I want to hang out with other golfers, whatever it is, right? So it's now, if you're looking to make friends, where to go, what to say with whom to make those friends. Learn something. You want to learn something. So maybe you're in a transition right now where you're going from, job search from financial services and you're transitioning into tech, let's just say. So now you want to learn about what that tech industry is about, so you're more prepared to go there. So now where do you go? What are you saying with whom to learn about tech, or to learn about bowling, or to learn about Zoom, or to learn it, right? It's the same thing. And you can do that online as well. You know what you want to learn, where to go, what to say with whom. Who knows more about what I need to know that I should connect with? And for free, you can get that information. Pay it forward. Fifth reason for network. This would, me being here, ta-da, is an example of pay it forward. I'm just here to help. That's it. I'm just here to, and right. So if you have a pay it forward mentality, whether it's fundraising, helping a brother out, helping a sister out, doing something for no other reason other than it's helpful to somebody else, it's a really good way to be. It happens, but it doesn't happen enough. I'm sad to say, but so pay it forward. Whether you're working or not, you still have skills and smarts and expertise. You still have industries that you have that you've been part of. Why not contribute your smarts for free at association meetings? It'll make you feel good, right? You still got lots of smarts and background and value to add, whether you're working or not. And what you're doing is you're networking at the same time. What do you think about that? And it's fulfilling, and for free. You could do this and connect with the right people. One of the best ways of networking is sharing your smarts. People are attracted to smart people that are doing great things with that information. And the sixth reason why we network is to solve a very specific problem. Solve a very specific problem. So in my case, it's my dad that's a senior. He's 83. He's toughing it. I lost my mom a bunch of years ago. He hasn't been in the same. So I'm on a campaign to help my dad through the struggles of something that I don't know from, right? But so solving a very specific problem is the sixth reason why we network, right? So all of these, what do they have in common? It's about solving a problem. And it's also about knowing where to go, what to say, and with whom. The flip side to that coin, and I'll move on, is that those that we know, that we're meeting, that we're reconnecting with, are looking for one of these six things. Would you agree? Give me a thumbs up, right? Because if you can help people get some of what they're looking for through this lens, they tend to help you right back. And that's networking, baby. That's networking. So am I on the right track so far? Give me a thumbs up. We good? All right, show some love. All right, here we go. All right, I'm going to go like at rapid fire. So hang on. All right, keep up with me. Here's my clinical definition of networking. If you looked it up in the dictionary, you won't find it. Why? Because it's mine. It's a proactive approach to meeting quality people with the prospect of learning and helping. That's it. That's what networking is. Although you might be thinking, can it be reactive? Absolutely, it could be reactive. But the reason I don't put it there, stay with me, is because most of the networking is done online right now. So I find that most networking now since March 12th is way more proactive than it's ever been. So you're not just bumping into people at the next, meeting or the next shindig, right? There's just less of them going on, and the ones that are going on are online, and you're a click or two away when I'm not saying it's bad, it's just what is, removed from people. So therefore, I find in my experience that we have to be way more proactive about getting to meetings, right? So like you were proactive about coming here, right? So you had to make this happen, right? So versus where it can be much more, but do reactive, does it happen reactively? Sure, it does, right? So it can be very serendipitous. The point is learning, helping, I'd like a second helping, learning, helping. That's what networking is. If you focus on learning from and potentially helping other people, psst, I'll be right back. That's the way it works. Important footnote here, which is why I put important. You must have a focused communication strategy. And I'm going to talk about that. And communication is made up of only a handful of aspects. Write this down. It's the questions that we ask. It's our listening to the responses. It's how we talk about ourselves and our plight. So elevator speech stuff. And again, I'll get into it. And then it's our follow-up and staying in touch. Those are all communication strategies that are on us. The questions we ask, our interpretation and listening of the answers, the way we talk about ourselves in the form of elevator speeches and pitches and all that, right? Then our follow-up and our staying in touch. That's it. That's it, right? Not easy, right? But that's kind of what it boils down to. And notice it's all about being proactive and intention and make those things happen. And then the other half of that is you have to have a targeted network or a focus on developing a targeted network, whether it's LinkedIn or your database or Beacon or whatever it might be. The more targeted your network and the more focused your communication strategy is on that network, right, the more powerful your networking efforts will be. So let me just draw it back and I'll move on. So my communication strategy from a networking standpoint is typically around the financial services industry. And then my targeted network is that industry. So I make sure that what I say and how I say it and how I show up is in sync with how it might be attractive to the financial services industry. Does that make sense? It may sound obvious, but again, do our actions every day reflect this? That's the part that's not so obvious. So every waking moment, for the most part, I'm focused on that industry and how I show up to that industry, right? And it equates to, well, BlackRock, right? And so on. It's the same thing in job search, right? The more focused your communication strategy is in sync with your targeted network, the more relevant your marketing is going to be. It's just the way it is. All right. Networking, 1/3 are dynamic. In my opinion, we only connect with about 1/3 of the people that we meet. 1/3, that's it. And that's if you're a good networker and the venue, the scenario is networking based. So for an example, if you are on the subway and you're on the 3 train and you start talking to people and you say, boy, I'm not connecting with too many people. In fact, I'm about to get arrested. Well, that's because the environment is not set up for networking, right? That's not the right environment. But if you are in a networking environment like a Beacon meeting and you're a good networker, you will connect with roughly, in my experience, about 1/3 of the people, which doesn't sound good, but it sounds like that grade, right? D, but it's not. 1/3, that's pretty good. So if you meet 3 people, and by connecting, I mean like you hit it off, like you had me at hello. 4 and I connected, like you had me at hello. What a good guy, right? And so that's the 1/3 dynamic. The other side of that is 2/3, is that the people that we don't really connect with, I'm not saying that there's a war, but it's fine, right? It's just, well, nice to meet you. And, if we cross paths again, great. There might not be any there. That's what I call the 2/3 dynamic. Punchline, focus on the 1/3ers. Focus on the people that you have the best and most connections with. That's the focus. So I guess what I'm saying is that it's okay that you don't connect with everybody. Some people get down. Like I have a hard time. So, but it's okay, provided that it's about that your hit rate is not, let's just say, like if you're connecting with nobody that you're meeting, then there's something that's up. Then there's something in terms of your networking that is not in sync. Maybe you're only talking about yourself. It's all about you. Big in job search, by the way, like Feed Me, where it's all about you and your search, and that's not attractive to people, so it's got to be collaborative. And I'm putting that out there because I see it all the time. And that's just so that gets back to mindset, skill set. So if the mindset is, look, I'm just going to network and it's all about me. And again, people are just blind to that. Then that 1/3 dynamic is going to be few and far between. Does that make sense? Right? So it's about being collaborative. I'm not judging. It's not good, bad, right, wrong. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. And believe it or not, I don't connect with everybody. I know it's hard to go on. Stop. right? But it's just the way it is. I might be too dynamic. I might be whatever it is, right? But that's okay, right? But as long as I'm connected with my 1/3 peeps, that's going to be good. So somebody that shows up as a 1/3 for me may show up as a 2/3 for somebody else. Or I might show up as a 1/3, to Zoe, I hope, because otherwise she's going to like mute me. Right. But, maybe, a 2/3 of somebody. It's just the way it works. Right. So the punchline is focus on the 1/3ers, focus on the 1/3ers. But I want you to be conscious of, and I'll move on, of how are you showing up to people? This is the serious part. How are you showing up to people online and off? If you're being collaborative, if you're looking to help people, learning, helping, then you're on the way potentially to 1/3erville. If that's not what it looks like, it might be something that you're doing. And again, we've all been there. It's akin to, everybody that I meet is a prospect. Like I hear that in the insurance industry all the time. Everybody I meet is a prospect. Well, if that's the way you show up, good luck, because it means that a lot of people are not going to really connect with you. Again, not good, bad, right, wrong. Just the facts, man. Right? Just the facts, man. So good on the 1/3 dynamic. Give me a thumbs up. Good. All right, 1/3. It's a lot of math. All right, rules of networking. I've got a book. I've got 23 rules that I listed. It seemed like it would be way overwhelming to share 23 rules here. So I boiled it down to like my 7 or 8 most important as it relates to where this might go for job searchers. So here we go. And it's akin to like the pool rules, old graphic there. The pool rule. Ever go to like a public pool? And there's always rules. There has to be, according to compliance and Board of Health, OSHA, the whole thing in the U.S. and Canada too. By the way, there's got to be rules. No splashing, no swimming, no fun. Do you remember that? Right? Those are the pool rules. So they got to be there, and we all know what they are. Many years ago, I thought about it, and I thought, we all know the pool, the pool rules. But does everybody know how to network and what they should be doing when they're networking? Because there is no sign on the wall, right? There's no sign on the fence or on the wall when we go to association meetings, beacon events, the whole thing. So I wrote them. And so here are the ones that I think are pretty important, probably the most important. First rule, I'm going to go into detail with some of this stuff, is share personal stories. People love to hear stories as long as they're short and they're relevant. And if they're not relevant, at least make them funny. At least if they're funny, you can get away with it, right? Then it's okay. As long as he's funny, So share personal stories. Now think about it. And I do this myself. When I meet people for the first time, even online, I'll say something like, Zoe, very nice to meet you. Can I share a quick story? Now, Zoe, aren't you a bit curious? Like, whoa, what, right? So look, can I share a quick story? Like this just happened to me today, right? And I'll share a quick story. Now, it's not like a 15-minute story. I'm talking like a couple of minutes. And I'm sharing it for a reason. I'm sharing it because it's something that's on my mind. I think it's relevant or it's funny, right? So then I'll share that story and I'll say, how funny is that if it is funny? So no, she'll at least smile, right? At least just to be kind, at least to be polite, right? And then I'll say, has that ever happened to you? Have you had a similar experience? So now I'm asking her to share a story, and she will. Won't even think twice about it because there's a connection there. Right. So now we've shared stories about that we're both in job search, or that we both spoke for 3 minutes with the mute button on, or whatever it might be. There's a gazillion stories, right? But especially now, right? So now, are we on the way? Probably, right? There's a connection there. So share personal stories, but you've got to give the other person an opportunity to share theirs too. It can't just be about you, and it can't be lengthy. It can't be lengthy. Okay. It's kind of like a stand-up comic. Like they tell stories, but they can't be lengthy. But it better be funny. Share current professional stories as well. So you may, talk about why you're in between careers right now, but then turn it back to somebody else. And it can't be a bitching session. It can't be about this company sucks and look what they did to me. It's just got to be matter of fact. Nobody wants to hear negative stuff. Oh, wait, people do want to hear negative stuff. Negative people, right? So who do you want to be around? So share professional stories. I'm in between careers and this is why, but this is what I'm focused on now. That's the important thing. What you're focused on now. Be positive. And how about yourself? Tell me, what's your story? Share solutions, ideas, nothing negative. Really refrain from the negative. Negative, bad. Negative, bad. Try to stay upbeat and positive. Ask great questions. Be interested. Focus on your niche or target market. Oh, I love to talk. Can you tell? I love to talk. But when I'm truly networking and connecting with people, I'm not like this. Because I truly love to listen. I truly love to learn. I want to make people to feel comfortable around me. I don't want to just talk through them. And I'm very present, I'm very, so I kind of know that. So I tend to talk way less because I want to listen and learn way more. So it's not that I'm trying to be somebody else. I'm trying to make the other person feel comfortable. And I truly want it to be collaborative. And that's really important because if I'm talking, I'm not doing a lot of listening, learning. Agreed? And networking is all about learning, helping, learning, helping. So I'm not quite like this, but I try to be engaging and charming and funny and all those different things, but it's not about me. I really try to make it about the other person. Create and use your elevator speech. So this is when you talk about, this is when it's time to talk about you and you exchange. Can we exchange elevator speeches? I'm going to get into a process for that. I know Ford's heard this. And then be clear on how others can help. So your ask, and also, asking them how you can be a resource, right? So how can we help one another? That sort of thing. So those are my favorite rules. I'm going to go into details with some of them. Here we go. Here are some of my favorite questions to ask people. They're not in any particular order necessarily. I don't walk around with this slide or with a script. I try not to make it sound like an interview. I may not even ask all these questions. And this came from a blog that I wrote a long time ago called, I forget how it was, How to Talk to People, I think is what I called it. 10 ways to connect. It was something like, and it was done as a satire and very sarcastic, a lot of likes, a lot of comments, a lot of shares, a lot of content. So people were like, this is great. You got to help my people with this. And that's kind of where this slide came from, right? So this is kind of what it looks like. So lead with a story. I know it's not a question, but my question would be, Ford, very nice to meet you. May I share a story? And he's not going to, right? So it's that. What do you do for fun? Second thing I love to ask people is, listen, I know we're supposed to be networking and, blah, blah, blah. I said, tell me something fun. What you've been doing the last couple of months that's really been fun or funny? Right? How cool is that? Right? How's that not going to hit? Right? So, and I don't do it as shtick. I just do it because I want the conversation to be fun. I want it to be up as appropriate. I want it to be upbeat. So what do you do? Who do you work for? That sort of thing. So like work stuff. How long have you been there? Do you like what, most people don't like what they do. And that's working people and people that are, in between careers. It might be if they say, well, I've been in job search, then you can talk about, well, how are you marketing yourself and how can you improve your condition? Right. So these questions will prompt that type of conversation. One of my faves out of here is how do you market yourself? Because I want to learn. Maybe somebody, and I'm a pretty good marketer, but I want to learn if is somebody doing something that would be a nugget that I need to learn. What are some of your interests? I really want to know, like, what's your logo? If you had a logo that went on a slide, what would your logos look like? Sound familiar? What are your interests? Where do you look to network? So places that you go, ponds that you fit. Oh, Beacon, what a great organization. Are there podcasts, right? That you could recommend, right? Or that's virtual meetings that you could recommend. Who would you love to meet? And it's networking. It's a small world after all. It's networking after all. Who you love to meet and why? And then if I like them a third of the time, how can I help you? Right? How can Zoe, I could talk to you all day. You seem really nice and smart and focused and I would love to explore ways that I might help you. How could I be a resource? And that's exactly how I would say it. How can I be a resource? People are absolutely blown away when you share that. But I only share it with a third of the people, not everybody, right? If there's not a great vibe or a great connection, I might just say, Charlie, it's been great chatting. Let me know if I could be a resource at any time. Otherwise, I look forward to crossing paths at some point. I just kind of leave it at that. Like I'm kind, right? But I'm not going to be so purposeful. And let's brainstorm in terms of ways I can help you. Can we follow up on this? That sort of thing. Now, I'm not saying that these questions are the end all and be all, but they are to me. And the reason they are, and again, you might have better questions and that's fine. I'm not saying use this as a script, but make sure your questions are open-ended. These are all open-ended, that they get into collaboration, that you can go back and forth. And also make sure that they're questions that you would love people to ask of you. I know I'm on the path to 1/3 when I'm talking to Ford and I ask a question and after he answers, then he says, how about yourself? What are some of your interests? Like that's what do they call that? There's a technical name for that. It's called it's a conversation. It's a conversation. That's what it's called, right? So when you have a natural conversation with people and it's 1/3, you don't even know that. It's just a great conversation. Ever been in a dialogue where it doesn't even really feel like a dialogue because it's all about them? Right? That's not 1/3. So that's being present to other people, but also being present to looking in the mirror. And I've done this myself, are we coming across like this as well? All right, you must have a target market. We spoke about that before. And having a target market is not an anyone, everyone, someone mindset. Oh, anyone that. Oh, someone with. Or everyone that. People stop listening. Anyone, everyone, someone, not sexy. Not sticky. People don't remember that. There's no there, right? So you must have a target market. The way I see it, and to me, it's like reducing the fraction. It's about, if you're in job search, what industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic, demographic, geography, and target companies are most important to you. Over the next 90 days, what does this look like for you? Over the next 90 days, call it March 31st, what does this look like for you? Come up with this. Craft a list of 20, 25 target companies that you are enamored with, at least learning about, right? And that's your focus, and get that done, right? And that, so this week I'm going to look at these 10 companies and see if they're hiring, seeing if they have ads posted, see who I know on LinkedIn that's connected with them as a first or second level, right? And start the plight towards learning about those companies and connecting with them. That's a pretty good strategy. Where do I need to go? What do I need to say? And with whom do I need to say it to make that happen? That's the power of having a target market. So it's about reducing the fraction. So like this morning at the networking meeting that I was leading, there were people that were there that were, they were doing intros. So for like a minute around the horn, another Zoom meeting. So they were saying things like, my target market is small businesses. My target market is family-owned businesses. My target market is individuals. So I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's not specific because, Charlie and I might decide that, I think a small business one way, but he might think of a small business some way, some another way. Ken is going to think of it in a completely different way. So that's 4/8, like small business at 4/8. But what type of small business? What industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic, demographic, geography? 2/4. So small businesses in the greater Philadelphia area, specific to the manufacturing and distribution industries. Now you're getting into 4/8 to 2/4, the 1/2. You see the difference? So focus on reducing the fraction. That's the difference between I'm looking to work with any asset management company to I'd like an introduction to BlackRock. See the difference? Oh, where to go, what to say, with whom to make that happen, both online and off. That's reducing the fraction. All right, before I get into this segment, does anybody have any questions, comments? And Zoe, I can't see them, so I'm going to ask for help.
I don't see anything in the chat, but if anyone has anything, feel free to type it in there and I can.
Yeah, I'm just going to create some quick space here, like station identification. If anybody's got any questions, comments, emotional outbursts, blood curdling yells, post them. Otherwise, I'm moving right along. All right, give me a thumbs up. Am I on track? Yes. All right, here we go. All right, 2 graphics here, and then we're going to move into this space. And this is my variation of an elevator speech. I've only been sharing this information for about 21 years. 21 years. That's pre-Zoom. That's pretty much pre-LinkedIn. That's pretty much pre what social media is right now. And it's still the same concepts that I'm sharing because they're still important and relevant. So the left-hand graphic is an online program that gets licensed through corporate offices of financial companies. And it's also part of a group coaching program and This is it's Knockout Networking University. So this is getting into the course on creating and position your elevator speech. It is the most common course out of all of them that are on my online community. It's the most common because people struggle constantly with how to talk about themselves and how to best market themselves. So that's where we're going. I'm going to get into what is in that course. And then, of course, Rutgers. And the reason I bring that up again is because I share what I call the peace statement with my students, like week 2. And they have to come up with a peace statement. And then I make them, as the professor, you can do this. I make them go to the right place, say the right thing, meet the right people. It's online these days. And because I force them to do that and hold them accountable, they come back and they land jobs or internships. What do you think about that? Like in a 15-week semester, I watch them do it. It's incredible. Just the other day, I had a former student that just landed an internship with Microsoft. And it was the job he was looking for. And he said, if it wasn't for the peace statement and the resume, it doesn't happen. And thank you. And it's just another Bronx tale, right? Another story told. But the point is that there's a focus and there's accountability. So at Rutgers, I'm holding the students accountable because they got to do it. It's an assignment. It's 7%, right? So it's part of that. And so I'm holding them accountable. As a job searcher, if you're in between careers, the only person holding you accountable probably is you. But I'm proud of that with the Rutgers community. Like for 20 years, I've been teaching this stuff, and 18, going into 18, and they're doing this, and I still see it. It's unbelievable, and I love watching it because it just makes me proud. It just makes me proud that I had a small hand in some of this stuff. I'm setting that up to just show you how important it, in my experience, that this particular concept has been, because I've watched it not only with my own business. In fact, if it wasn't for the peace statement, I never would have landed the Rutgers gig in the first place. What do you think about that? Which is another story for another day. So peace statement, it's an acronym. Yes, I made it up. It's mine. Peace stands for, when I coach advisors and brokers, they have to have one, because then I can tell them where to go, what to say with whom, and then create a strategy to help them do it. Same thing with job searchers. So profession, expertise, environments, call to action. Profession, expertise, environments, call to action. That's the peace statement. Profession, who you are, what you do, and perhaps with whom. Expertise, what you know. Environments, your niche, your target market. And call to action is your ask, specific to what you want. So profession is, I'm a speaker, trainer, coach. I'm in transition right now, focused on companies like. It could sound something like that. Expertise would be your 2 or 3 areas of expertise. I might say my areas of expertise are networking, referrals, and recruiting. Environments, I'm focused on landing a job in the financial services industry with companies like BlackRock and American Century. And call to action would be, I'm always looking for introductions too, and it could be your specific ask around the type of introductions that you're looking for. What does one look like? Glad you asked. Here's an example of what a peace statement might look like. And this is specific to career search. Notice the components that are there. I'm a financial professional in transition. See, it's right up front. Like, what's your deal? Here's my deal. Focused on working as a banker in the private equity space. See, I'm not focused on the transition. I'm focused on what I want. Right away. Boom. My expertise is in investment analysis, accounting, and financial planning. Whether you're working or not, you have expertise. Let me repeat that. Whether you're working or not, you have expertise. Are you feeling me? People that are in job search forget that they're smart. People in job search often forget that they have experience. People in job search often forget that they are of value. Do not forget. Got it? Mindset. I'm focused on working for firms like, right? So here's the environment piece. ABC Partners and XYZ Equity Group. You see how 4/8, 2/4, 1/2? See how I boiled it down? I'm always looking to meet, or be, here's the ask, the call to action. I'm always looking to meet or be introduced to CPAs, bankers, and financial planners. You see how that's relevant to what I might want if this was me? Any advice, insight, recommendations as to how I might make a connection like that would be awesome sauce. Right? So you see how I went general to specific? That's powerful. How about yourself? What is it that you're looking for, Maria? And Maria will probably model what I've just shared. And now we're both at call to action. Do we have something to talk about? You bet. Now, let me just create some context around this. This is not a script. This is not a script. I'm positioning it as it could start off as a script, but I prefer to look at it as a structure. A structure, not a script. Structure, not a script. Because this should be a back and forth, or could be a back and forth conversation. So I'm just going to use Maria because I know her. So if Maria is at a Beacon meeting and they're going around the room and they're, you get 30 seconds or a minute to introduce yourself, the context is set for Maria to kind of share this. And it's going to probably, connect. It'll be very articulate and succinct and everything else. And all the elements are there. But if Maria and I are having a conversation just one-on-one with a couple of adult beverages in hand, well, we can do that again at a real meeting, or even online with a couple of adult beverages in hand. Hopefully that's not now and today. right? But now this could be, part and parcel of a back and forth. It might be, so what brings you here? What do you do? What's your background? And through my questions, we're going to go back and forth on this. And it's not going to be, what's your peace statement? It's going to be a Q&A, and we're going to get into some of this stuff. So if I ask Maria about, so what's your background? What's your expertise? Which I would ask somebody, she's got the peace statement down, not memorized, but she knows it. She just, right, difference. She just knows it conceptually. And she can say, my expertise is in the areas of investment analysis, accounting, and various aspects of financial planning, right? And those things will happen. Make sense? So think about what you can do in terms of crafting a peace statement. This is powerful, right? It's your profession, expertise, environments, and call to action. I use this myself. Not this variation, of course, right? But I've got my own variation that I use when I'm in networking circles, even my own, even meetings I'm leading, right? That I have something like this to talk about. And it's a structure, not a script. And it's really great when you can collaborate and go back and forth on your respective peace statements as you're networking. And if you're really clever, you look between the lines of this. I don't mean literally, but it's a marketing plan. It's a marketing plan, because if you're really clever, you can determine by looking at this as to where you need to go, what you need to say, and with whom you need to say it. Powerful. And then what you're going to do about that every Monday through Friday, or pretty much every day. All right. So here's my knockout networking system. There are 4 aspects to networking. 4 aspects. Most people think there's only one aspect. That's the presentation phase. So I've abbreviated this. Let me talk you through it. Preparation is doing your homework. So I prepared for this meeting, right, that we're having a discussion about, right? So I know when I network, I also prepare, like ahead of time, like who do I want to meet and why, and what am I going to say, and who's going to be there, and right. So I prepare for this meeting, not just in terms of my content, but I was curious as to who registered, and, and some aspects about Beacon and the dynamics of the group. And, when Ford and I had this conversation, right? So that was part of my preparation, so when I go to networking meetings, whether I'm the speaker or not, I want to know about the meeting. I want to know about who's going to be there, what I should be saying and why. And are there other people that I know that have been there before? And these are all aspects we can learn ahead of time just by pressing some buttons. Presentation is the fun stuff. That's what most people think networking is. It's just that piece, and that's face-to-face, FTF, right? So that's the fun stuff. That's asking questions, learning, listening, all that. Then there's the follow-up. FU, as one of my clients says, my Morgan Stanley client, one of them says, it's all about the FU. It was just too harsh to kind of put that there. But it's true. It's all about, without the FU, nothing great happens. Would you agree? Without follow-up, nothing great happens. It's all about the FU. And I believe it sounds like an airplane, right? The FU-24 is ready to hit the sky. But FU-24 is follow up within 24 hours, if you can, within the next business day or whenever it's appropriate. And you both decided when a good time might be to follow up or reconnect. It's all about the FU. I say with it about follow up because we convince ourselves that we get too busy. There is no too busy for follow-up. Follow-up is the key. It's all about the FU. And maintenance is maintaining the right relationships. It's maintaining and staying in touch. Otherwise, those relationships will never develop and flourish. Usium. I forget what that's. Oh, out of sight is out of mind. Out of sight is out of mind. Believe it. Can I create an uglier acronym? All right. Let's get into some of the virtual stuff. So here's the virtual stuff. That's about emails, virtual meetings, social media, blogs, articles, webinars, podcasts, phone calls. I'm not going to cover all this because I don't have time, and some of it may not be relevant, but I'm going to cover the high notes for some of these different things. But in my mind, this is kind of the virtual world right now, and phone calls are still a thing, by the way. I remind my daughter there's an app for that. All right. So email. If you're going to use email, we all do, right? Way more email now than probably ever, is at least have an engaging subject line. If you're going to use email to market and reconnect with people with job search in mind, come from a place of we. How is it relevant and helpful to all of us, both of us? Send it personally. I know in job search, you're probably going to do that anyway, but for business audience, I say you don't have somebody like mass mail and it comes from somebody else, right? So it's got to have a personal bent to it. Make the message itself somewhat, not too personal, but somewhat personal, like you have a connection or you're looking to develop a connection. Keep it short, sweet, to the point. Nobody wants to read long emails. Do not mass mail. Initiate a call to action. Here's what an email might look like. This is a good marketing email, in my opinion. So see the subject line? It's got the person's name in it and the purpose. Let's reconnect. That's somebody that I already knows named Sam. Why wouldn't he reconnect with me? Hello, Sam. I hope you and here's the right. So make it personal, relevant. I'm so sorry. It's been so long since we've spoken. It's been a while since I've been to, right? See how I've made it personal? I can only send that to Sam. Would be great to, here's a call to action. Would be great to schedule a call or Zoom to catch up. And perhaps we can, reconnect, and maybe there's ways we can help one another. And then please let me know, here's the next step, when you might have some time over the next week, looking forward to connecting, loving kisses, right? So that could be an email that you could use. And I'm happy to share the slides with Ford if you're interested in seeing this stuff. I mean, happy to do that. But this is a very short, succinct, purposeful email where not one word is wasted. So you can create and tailor something like this, as you see fit. And it's a similar type thing on LinkedIn. I'm going to get into that in a minute. Virtual meetings. So virtual meetings in general, these are some best, I've written blogs about this stuff over the last 6-7 months, is have a good wireless or wire connection. We are wired right now. I'm plugged in. And the reason we're wired is because it's an important meeting, and watch me disconnect. And I'm hoping that we don't disconnect, right? I'll be mindful about space and background. So my background is intentional to my brand, right? It's not a bunch of shelves or a bunch of piles of mess and what have you, right? Minimize distractions, keep the conversation on target, try not to multitask, right? I can tell if in a networking meeting, if people are multitasking, it means that what's going on may not be all that important. Ever see somebody eat while they're in a meeting like this? Like awful. I've seen it. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Or driving. I know sometimes it's unavoidable, but it just gives the impression that a business meeting is not important. Be respectful of people's time. If I'm setting up meetings with people that are setting up with me, it's really 20-minute meetings, 30-minute meetings. Time just means something different to us now because there's just so many meetings, right? You're not traveling anymore, not as much. So be really just respectful of time. Utilize LinkedIn. You can do a share screen and you can look at one another's connections on LinkedIn through Zoom. How's that for using 2 platforms at once? So if Zoe and I are together for like a one-to-one meeting and it's networking, I might ask her to be prepared, looking at my LinkedIn profile and my account and look at some of my connections and who are 3 people that you might be interested in learning more about connecting with. Be prepared with that. I'll do the same. So now we can do mutual share screens. And how's that for a purposeful conversation, right? We can do that. You know what it costs? Zilch. It's just a question of utilizing what's here. Right? But are you going to show up and use those tools? And finally, and this one is like a pet peeve of mine, if somebody is looking to get a meeting with me, but then they want me to set up the Zoom room and the calendar invite, offends all my sense. Right? You want me to do the work? You're trying to get a meeting with me? So if you're trying to get a meeting with somebody, it's on you, right? Lunch is on you. You set up the calendar invite. You set up the Zoom or Skype or whatever it is that you're using. Make sense? It really goes a long way when somebody takes that burden off of us. But if you're in job search, right, you want to ingratiate yourself and show how what your mindset is to those people. And that goes a long way. All right. Social media. LinkedIn is a social media of choice for business. No surprise. I think there's only 3 important aspects. I'm overgeneralizing to LinkedIn. Here's the 1, 2, 3 punch to LinkedIn. In my opinion, it's you're posting, you're connecting, and you're engaging. Posting, connecting, engaging. That's it. So do you have a strategy for each? Minimize look at me posts. Nobody cares, especially on LinkedIn. It's got to be value or valuable. Use LinkedIn every business day or every other day. So at least every Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. And I shouldn't say use LinkedIn. I should say post on LinkedIn every business day. You should probably be using it every day, but post every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at minimum. Focus on your target market. Follow those that are in your target market that are active on LinkedIn. If they're active on LinkedIn, they're more likely to be active at connecting with you. Have a goal and a plan. And if you haven't already, hashtag connect with me. So posting, connecting, and engaging. 1, 2, 3 punch. Here's some best practices around each. Posting. You can post business practices. And I'm thinking compliance is not a thing for you if you are in job search right now. When I'm working with advisors, I have to talk about compliance, what they're allowed to post and not allowed to post, and I get into all that. I'll spare you. So business practices, you can just, it could be some of my stuff if you want, or it could be quotes or just best practices that you believe in that you can just post and share with other people. I sometimes will quote boxers, like Sugar Ray Leonard and Muhammad Ali, and it's on brand for me, but it's something that's interesting and that people take to, and I get great response from that. Could be comic strips as appropriate, right? You don't want to post comic strips if they're not, meant to be that way. So watch, copywritten material and all that stuff. Quotes, shares, a share can be one of your posts. If you're sharing content from somebody else, people like that. That's showing some love. And then trends about your target market or some things that you can post. So in my case, it's financial services or whatever it is. You can share trends about the target market that you are looking to connect with and learn more about. Here's what so posting, connecting is proactively reaching out to people in the form of a DM, a direct message. So this could be, hello, Sam. I see we both have a focus in the manufacturing industry. Let's connect if you're game and explore how we might help one another. See how it's we focused, collaborate, not about me, about we. My pronoun of choice is we, by the way, and me. Looking forward to the prospect of coordinating. And there's my call to action. Something like this on LinkedIn will resonate at least a third of the time. And it's harmless, but it's very we focused. And you've put a bent around specificity with the manufacturing piece. And then engaging. Engaging is cultivating a relationship with people on LinkedIn beyond the connect. That's liking people, right? Because now you're showing some love, commenting. And I mean specific comments. It might be, Maria, this is an important post. Thank you very much for your insight about the manufacturing industry. Takes me 10 seconds to write and a lot of love. Share. Maria, I'm sharing this. This is important information. Tag. You can tag people just by the @ sign. You can hit the @ sign on LinkedIn and people's name will come down and you can just tag people that are important to you. You can sending a DM is a way of engaging people, right? As you continue to write and cultivate a relationship. My favorite thing to do is invite people that I'm connecting with on LinkedIn to online events that I think would be important to them that are industry based. Like I thought this would be of interest to you. I've got nothing to gain from that other than cultivating the relationship. And you know what? All this stuff is free. Phone calls, still a thing. There's an app for that. Everyone has a preferred way of communicating. By the way, there are people that do prefer the phone. I have clients that will reach out to me and say they want to call me or they just call. It's just who they are, right? So everybody communicates in different ways. Just try to avoid cold calling if you can do it, right? It's LinkedIn is the new cold call, by the way. So develop a system for making calls. Maybe it's it's a walk every day from 12 to 1. I like to go on drives and park somewhere as a break. And then I have my schedule, calls that I'll do. And I do that as just a way of breaking up the action, but it's a system where I'm on the phone. Grab hold of your schedule. This will be the last distinction that I share before I open it up to some Q&A is create a model week. So this is the accountability piece. What's a model week? So it's looking at your Monday through, this is how I do it. Looking at your Monday through Friday, and I split my days in half. So let's just take Monday. There's a morning and there's an afternoon, right? Every day has that. So my Monday morning is devoted to certain activities, and that's 10% of my time. If I half my 5 days, it means every half day is 10% of my week. So how do I want to allocate 10 percentiles of my week? So Monday morning, it's all administrative for a lot of reasons. So 10% is administrative. That's all I do is administrative work that's setting up my week. That's it. I don't check emails. That's what I'm locked and loaded. Monday afternoon is something else. So I have that predetermined is how I want to utilize my time. So this is why I'm managing my calendar. My calendar is not managing me. So if somebody wants to get on my calendar, then I give them options. I tend to schedule meetings on Thursday afternoons and Friday mornings, I might say. So now I'm having further control of my calendar and I can be very purposeful in what I have to do. I would think so important as a job searcher is to be focused on time that you're researching companies, time that you're following up with people, time that you're applying for jobs online, time that you're networking, time that you're working with your career coach, and so on, is set what that looks like. And then after a couple of weeks, determine what's working better and what's not. And then you can say, well, I need to network 20% more. So you're going to allocate 2 more half days to that and so on. But you see how you have control over all this stuff? That's the point. Consider your high energy time. I do my most cumbersome tasks or tedious tasks in the morning, because that's when, I mean, you probably can't imagine I wouldn't be high energy, but in the morning, I'm like a machine. Block time in your calendar. If I want to get something done that's got to get done, like writing a blog, it's in my calendar. So on Fridays from 12 to 1 every week, I write a blog. It's in my calendar, like recurring meeting. That's when I write my blog. Assign numbers to my daily goals. So if I want to connect with X amount of companies, put numbers, and that X could be, I want to connect with 3 companies this week in the manufacturing industry. Set a 90-day goal. What do you want to accomplish in the next 3 months? How many interviews do you want to have, or what job do you want to land? And finally, develop a daily fight plan. What activities do you need to do every single day for an hour or so that's going to get you to where you want to be? Have I made this a good use of time? All right. Yeah. So let me open it up to some. Perfect. Actually, one last thing I want to talk about. Then I'm going to open it up because I'm looking at the clock. Daily fight plan. Here's my daily fight plan. I do this stuff. When I coach advisors and other clients, it's usually financial advisors and brokers, is they have to have a daily fight plan. Like, it's non-negotiable. It's an NNA, as I call it, a non-negotiable activity. Like, they have to have a fight plan. Otherwise, we don't meet. Like, we meet on their daily fight plan and what they're doing. So this is what a daily fight plan could look like. I have my clients, I do this myself. I review my 90-day goals every day. I'll post on LinkedIn and or other social media, usually every Monday through Friday. And I'm not obnoxious about it. Like, I'm not always on there. I'm talking just a few moments. I do what I need to do on LinkedIn, and that's it. I contact or direct message 5 new people in my target market just to collaborate with them, just because I think it's fun, and it always turns into something for me or for them, or both. I contact or direct message 5 first connections in my target market, most of whom I know, right? And back and forth. And I know really well by now. Accomplish at least one important item. So what do I need to get done today? Oh, I need to prepare for this beacon meeting, right? So my one important item for the day, schedule at least 1 virtual meeting a day if you can do that. And do something fun for an hour. And I'm just putting that in there because we're in a virtual world right now. We need to break up the action, something fun. Maybe that's a good chance to devote an hour to Netflix, but just an hour, right? And between 12 and 1, and break up the action. Right. So that's my daily fight plan. Lots of information. It's just a question of, are you going to earn a 65.1 or an 80? Or I'm not saying it's got to be perfect. I'm not saying you got to score 100. I'm saying progress, right? Rather than perfection. What progress are you going to make in terms of implementing some of these ideas? So I'm going to now unscreen share and open it up to emotional outbursts.
So, Zoe, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to thank you. This is Ford speaking. And Michael, great presentation. A lot of great information, a lot to chew on, a lot to think about. I hope people were listening, but there was a lot of information. So again, I want to remind everyone that the presentation was recorded, and we'll send a link out to all participants within the next day or so that you could review the information and get any of the details that you might have missed. Now, Zoe, I think that some questions came in, and I also received a couple of questions directly through my email. So do you want to start, Zoe, and read Michael some of the questions?
Yeah, and I also see that somebody raised a hand.
Yeah, maybe if we want to go with Jonathan's question first, and then we can get the ones from the chat.
And just so you know, Zoe, and I'll shut up, is now I have access to the chat. For whatever reason, when we were in that other mode, I had no access to it. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Jonathan, if you want to unmute yourself and ask your question, and then I also did receive some direct message questions in the
Cool.
chat.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Ford, nice to hear your voice.
You too, my friend.
Always a pleasure. First off, Professor, phenomenal. Thank you for the opportunity to hear and listen. I wanted to ask a question. I think one of the things I'm currently aggressively networking within the financial services vertical, and I find that as I find target companies of interest, I think the trickiest thing I've encountered is that blind DM on LinkedIn to someone that has the role I'm seeking and or someone that knows someone I know without getting introduced by my contact. Sometimes I'll go cold. Any examples that you have around that, like the one you showed us, to people you do know, it would be great to hear or, examples of. I think that's probably the most valuable. For me, LinkedIn is everything.
Perfect. All right, let me just respond. And who asked that? I'm just not seeing you.
Jonathan Slogoff. I'm born and raised on the same block as Ford and live in New York City.
Ah, okay, good. And I take bubbly baths, and I'm a Pisces. All right, so good to meet you. So in terms of your question, I want to just create a distinction. Is that you're talking about a sales communication rather than a networking communication. So when you're looking for something from someone and it's really about you on the surface, and initially it's sales rather than networking. So that's why a lot of notes like that might get ghosted or disappeared, and there's no response because people that are on LinkedIn are getting pitched all the time. I mean, I get pitched all the time. So that's not really networking. That's selling. So I would say that if you're looking to connect with a prospective hiring manager on LinkedIn, and of course they're getting inundated, especially now more than ever, and Ken Scher will tell you that, for sure. It's really about seeing, at least my first broad brush would be, who do I know that is a first tier connection with them? And I would look to connect with that person first. Because now, in a sense, I'm leveraging my networking and say, how well do you know Scott? Scott's somebody that I'm really looking to connect with. He looks like he might potentially be a hiring manager for one of my target companies. How well do you know him? So I would get at that conversation with the person I already know, and in the process, collaborate with them. How have you been? What are you looking for? How can we be resources for one another? So it's not just about you, and ultimately see if you can get an introduction into that person. If there's no way of getting an introduction to that person, then I would say write to them anyway. If there's no other way, but make it clear that this is a two-way street. I would say, hello, Scott, I hope this note finds you well. I am interested in learning more about your company. I'm sure you get hit with a million notes like this all the time, but would love to connect. And perhaps, we could collaborate and explore ways of helping one another. I believe in a two-way street. Are you game? Like, you got nothing to lose with a note like that, because you are now showing a networking mindset rather than a pitching mindset. And that just might be the note that somebody responds to. How do I know? Because I hear stories like this all the time. Like, all the time. Like, how did you end up landing that job? I sent a note that and it was a collaboration note. It wasn't a hire me note. Do you see the difference?
Yeah, that's a great distinction. I often do exactly what you just said, which is go to of contact within first, but sometimes I don't want to wait. There's something on the web that's a job. That's a great distinction. I hadn't really thought of it that way, that, I'm pitching them. And you must always say, and I always end every conversation, how can I help you? If there's any way, any person, group, company you're seeking, you want to know about, mine is yours. Please take advantage of that.
Yeah.
That's great. I think,
but I would say the best practices around that is understanding the difference between selling and networking. It's not good, bad, right, wrong. They're just different, and there's a time and place, and they are interrelated, but it's understanding that distinction. And then also, the networking piece would be about, well, I don't have anybody that is a first tier connection. Let me see how I can cultivate that on LinkedIn and see if I can manifest a first tier connection and focus on that, because the personal introduction is going to always carry more weight than you throwing any cold note out there, as charming as it might be.
That's phenomenal. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Zoe, do you have other questions for Michael?
Yeah, actually, this one's somewhat related because it's about LinkedIn. So this person wrote, I find it frustrating when I reach out to a first connection on LinkedIn and they don't respond. How often should I follow up before giving up on that person or anyone I'm trying to network with?
I would say be persistent, but not annoying. There is that fine line because not everybody checks LinkedIn every day or is privy to their notifications. Everybody's just got a different level of comfort or a different level of attention that they devote to that. And I'm fairly savvy with that stuff, and it may take me a day or so because I look at LinkedIn when I look at LinkedIn, and I'm kind of done until I get to it the next time. Unless something is pressing. So I would just say 3 strikes and you're out, sort of thing. But the other thing to look at also, and this is really telling, is I love to look at the activity of somebody on LinkedIn. So I'm gonna use Jim Donahue as an example because I think we've met before, and he's very handsome. If I'm looking to connect with Jim on LinkedIn, one of the first, let's say I'm already a first-tier connection, but I'm looking to reach out to him, right? But one thing I'm going to look at, and let's just say I don't know him well, like we all have first-tier connections that we're not best buds with, right? Although I think you and I could be best buds. But I would look to see the activity. You can notice on the profile page, I can see that if Jim is really active on LinkedIn, like he posts every day, like you could see that stuff, then he's more likely to respond to me. And if he doesn't respond to me, then I have to look into that and say, well, maybe there's a reason. Maybe he's busy, he's overwhelmed, or there's something else. But usually people that are really active on LinkedIn tend to be the ones that are most responsive. If it's somebody that's not all that active, I would chalk it up to somebody that LinkedIn's just not an important enough strategy for them, or they're not utilizing all of the tools that they could. So I would just be persistent, and just, say, Jim, I wrote you last week, you probably didn't see it, would love to reconnect with you. Let's make that happen or something like that. Or it might be easier to take it to email. Here's mine. And then finally, while I'm on that thought, is when you look at somebody's profile and you look at their contact info, some people that tend to be on the more marketing savvy side will put their email address there if they're not corporate folks. Corporate folks don't tend to do that, but business owners and job searchers do. So see if, maybe, luck of the draw that there's actually an email address there, and reach out to them on email and just say, I posted, or I wrote a note to you on LinkedIn. You may not have seen it, but I wanted to reconnect with you here and blah, blah, blah.
Great. And Maria had a comment that if you reach out to someone and remind them how and where you met, that might be helpful so they don't, because they might be hesitant to talk to a stranger, but if they know you're not a stranger. And then I noticed, Danelle, you have your hand raised if you wanted to ask your question.
Sure. Thank you. Hi. Great presentation. Danelle Morrow.
No.
I just wanted to comment and ask a question that when I'm networking, one of the things that I find really helpful is to learn about culture of a company. So if I'm planning like next steps for my next move in my career, I want to get that inside intelligence of like, what is it really like to work there? And I found that when I ask the question simply and directly in a networking conversation and just say, what is the culture like at whatever company you're working at? It falls flat. I get answers like good, fine. Oh, the people are nice, which is not what I'm searching for.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, for the benefit of the group and myself, can you help us with some recommendations on how to ask a more probing, open question to really get that intelligence on the company culture?
Well, company culture, and I love the question, but not everybody understands what that means. So company culture, the connotation might be very 4/8. So you might have to be more specific about the question. So I might say, Danelle, I would love to know more about the culture of BlackRock, and by that I mean, what is some of the average age? Gender, diversity, what does a work week look like? So get into some specifics around what you mean by culture, because that question might show up in different ways. Or some people, frankly, may not even understand that because they may not be thinking in terms of that. Yep, great question. Others?
Joey, do you have any questions for Michael?
There's one more here in the chat, and it's for introverts. What if I'm an introvert and the idea of networking is intimidating? Are there tools to get over this?
No, I'm kidding. So let me just say this. I am an extrovert. Go on, stop. But you don't need to be an extrovert to be a good networker. So if you are on the introverted side, or you're more introspective or even shy, that's okay. It doesn't mean that you need to work the room. It just means that think about what you would say as an icebreaker to make yourself feel a bit more comfortable. And in my public speaking class, I refer to that concept as starting with your best stuff. So when I start a talk, usually not online, I don't do it because it's just a whole different feel online. But when I'm doing a real talk in front of a real audience, and by real, I mean like we're all in the same room, I'll jump right into a story. Like I don't introduce myself or get into any of my company. I just launch into a story because now people are just like, whoa, and it's relevant or funny or both or neither. So I tell people when I'm coaching them and, how do I do this is think about what your best stuff might be, because not only will it help engage somebody that you're speaking with, one-thirder, but also it makes you yourself feel more comfortable in the message. And that's an example. So a great example, and I know I kind of mentioned this earlier, is just leading with a story. And that's why I always lead it with a story, and I'm not shy, but I don't know with whom I'm speaking yet. So I want to make them feel comfortable too. And quite frankly, I want to laugh. I want to have fun, so as I'm meeting somebody, I'll say, Herb, very nice to meet you. May I share a quick story? So it's going to put him at ease because there's no pressure on him to share anything. Like, okay. And I'm just going to, right. And then I'm going to say, how funny is that? Like that really happened, Herb. Has that ever happened to you? And he's going to, right. So that's a great icebreaker. And now even as somebody that's on the more, introverted side of the equator, they're going to feel a little bit more comfortable and connected in being able to have those conversations, even online.
Yeah, that's funny because I am introverted. So
I knew that. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, but helpful, right, Herb? Like just by thinking about that, because I saw you smile. Because, who doesn't want to hear a story, share a story, because those are things that we are comfortable with. So why not create some, some creature comforts right away out of the gate? Because what's the impression that you're leaving with other people? That you're easy to talk to, that you're fun, and already we're on the learning, on the path to learning and on the path to one-thirderville, rather than searching for what you need to say next. But of course, there has to be some substance after that with the questions and the listening and all that other stuff.
Zoe, who else has a question?
We have Charlie with his hand raised, and we're out of time technically, but Charlie, if you want to get your question in there.
Okay, Michael, thank you so much.
Hey, Charlie, good to see you.
Good to see you, dude. Michael, I want to build on the last comment about introverts. I'm an introvert. And you said earlier in the presentation, why do we network? One of the things you said was to give. So what I asked introverts to do is to look at what precious gifts can they give, knowledge, insights, etc., that they can give to another party. Because what happens when they do that is the other party becomes very conversant and makes it easier for a conversation to allow that person to learn the things they need to learn to be more helpful to the person on the other side of the desk. So give first. And unfortunately, many times job seekers aren't thinking that way. They're trying to get information. They're trying to get names, openings, etc., instead of saying, my purpose here today is to give, to build a relationship that's going to serve me long term. So that's what I would suggest to introverts.
Yeah, totally agree. That's a great takeaway. Thanks, Charlie. Really good.
So thank you, Michael. Zoe, I guess we should wrap this up now because it is a minute or two beyond 1:30, right?
Yep.
So one last comment. For those of you who are not Beacon members, I encourage you to visit the website, which is beacon4life.org. That's beacon, the number 4, life.org. And you can find information there about potentially becoming a member. Again, I want to thank Michael for his great time, his energy, his knowledge, his expertise. Wonderful to see you, Michael. Excellent job. And I want to thank everybody else also for joining in today's presentation.
Beacon is the premier executive networking organization serving the Mid-Atlantic region. To learn more, go to beacon4life.org.